Hello, BookTube. Okay, so I am doing another review in the same room, in the same sweatshirt and dirty hair. Um, I hope you've been watching and heard me say that like 4 times. Okay, so today I'm going to be reviewing The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. Jeanette Walls has written a couple other books, which I'm not sure if I'm going to read. We'll see. Tell me if I should read them. I love The Glass Castle, so let me know if I should keep going. But yeah, and I think they're all memoirs. And she's a journalist. She went to Barnard, which is super cool, because I love Barnard. But yeah, so this is about her childhood. I'm not sure if the other memoirs cover a different area of her life or what, but she grew up very, very poor, like homeless poor. And her family would move constantly, like every time the IRS would catch up with them, they would like haul ass somewhere else. Um, they were the dad was an alcoholic and the mom was an artist and she had a teaching degree, but she never used it because she didn't like to teach. So she would just stay home and like paint and not make any money or do anything. So the kids had to all get jobs and the kids had to work and basically be their own parents. And the dad would be gone for days on end because he was drinking. Um, yeah, and it's obviously like really sad book, but it tells it in a way that's like digestible and just makes you like feel the pain of this girl growing up in this situation and just wanting so badly to get out. And I think everyone can relate at some point. At least, well, an escapist, but everyone can relate to wanting to feel like you can just leave or go somewhere else, or as the book calls it, do the skedaddle, you know? So it's like, so I constantly like identified with that feeling throughout the novel. Memoir, sorry, not a novel. Throughout throughout the memoir. So yeah, I love the perspective in the book. It's told from her perspective as a child, which I like a lot more than like Hillbillyology, where it's told from his perspective now, because then it feels kind of like I knew what I was doing and I did this because of this. And it's very like preachy and it feels like this is my story and I'm here to tell you about this, you know? Whereas Walls does it where it just feels like a little girl telling you her story, even though she's writing it obviously way later. Which makes it more like hard hitting because she's telling it like these horrible, hard subjects from a child's voice. And she does it so seamlessly. I feel like sometimes the stories are so outlandish that it doesn't even feel real, but it is a memoir, so I'm not sure how much is real. And like the whole time I was curious to know like what incidents were real and what weren't. Um yeah, and like I just want to know if that was embellishing or if it was like actually what happened. Um what I also love is that she never claims to tell anyone's story except her own. Like Hillbillyology, the like subtitle is like a family and culture in crisis, and he's like talking about how he thinks that the hillbilly mentality is this and he thinks that hillbilly culture is this, you know. He's trying to define a culture and represent a culture with his story, whereas Walls just tells hers and doesn't claim to say anything about anyone else's story, you know. Like she's not representing the whole community, which she could unintentionally, but she's just talking about her and her life, which I think is great. And I think that's the way you really should approach that kind of writing. Um, yeah, I love the way all of the characters are like very three-dimensional. Like even the mom and the dad, who are like really awful towards their children and very neglectful. Like she still talks about the loving aspects of them. She talks about like the cute relationship she had with her dad, like even in the really rough times. Like how she would forgive him and how he would forgive her. It's just really sweet. Like they which I like, he's an awful person and he's horrible for the family unintentionally, but because he has this addiction. But she still like finds a way to love him and hate his addiction at the same time, which I think a lot of people really struggle with. But I think that shows a lot of like self-reflection and like honesty too. So I love that. The writing's incredible. She's a journalist, so it should be, but she's a really, really fantastic writer, and it flows so seamlessly, and also it has short chapters, which I always like, and I read books faster when they have short chapters. Um, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. I love it. I really highly recommend it. People have been telling me to read it for years. I'm so happy I finally did. It was not disappointing. Yeah, I really, really do recommend it, especially if you've read Hillbillyology. Oh my god, please discuss with me if you've read both, um, because they're so interesting in juxtaposition. So, yeah, I really liked it. Highly recommend. 5-star book for me. Bye.